Bonjour à tous, my name's Alice and welcome back to my channel. So I'm super happy today to announce you that I'm partnering with Surfshark again. While traveling will generally lead to great experiences, good memories, you may encounter inconveniences along the way. For example, we traveled to Germany with my boyfriend last month, and we often had to rely on unsafe public Wi-Fi in and outside hotels and hostels. Thanks to Surfshark, I was completely protected from any malware, cybercriminals, and personal data exploitation, and that was a huge relief. Another feature I love about Surfshark is that you can change your location depending on where you are in the world. So I set myself a goal for the upcoming year. Basically, I just love Berlin and I want to learn German. And so with Surfshark, by changing my location to Germany, I can get access to a bunch of German exclusive content on Netflix and other platforms. It's super easy to use. In just a few clicks, I'm switching back to France. For me, it means that I won't have to spend hours searching for films or documentaries on dodgy streaming websites. I used to do that all the time, you've probably done it too. Now I have some good news for you because Surfshark is offering my viewers an 83% discount, 3 months for free and a 30 days money back guarantee. So if you want to take advantage of this time limited offer and support the channel in the process, all you have to do is to go to surfshark.deals/Alice. The link will be in the description. So thank you to Surfshark, and now let's go back to the video. We are in a very tricky and alarming situation right now. Millions of individuals are being deported, evacuated. The IPCC report is really bad. It seems like the world is on fire and us human beings are responsible for that. A lot of pictures have circulated lately from Turkey, Greece, Algeria and more, and it's hard to know what to feel. Sadness, anger towards home. This past month, my experience of social media has been quite peculiar, as most of you guys, I think. I was switching between pictures of my friends on holiday, having a good time, to towns on fire and acquaintances or influencers having to evacuate those places. That constant transition between bliss and death, between laughters and tears, was very weird, to say the least. And I found myself asking those following questions multiple times, meaning, how can I enjoy my holidays? How can I post about my holidays when individuals, millions of individuals, are undergoing traumatic events? And then I saw that people, influencers, kept on posting pictures of themselves having fun in Greece while the island of Euboea was on fire. The same influencers who then ask you to donate money to charitable causes like climate refugees organizations. Why have we all become hypocrites, and how can we feel so relaxed when participating in an industry, the tourism industry, that is responsible for climate change and thus what is happening today? Traveling in what is now referred to as over-tourism has been increasingly put under the radar of climate activists. The increasing number of travelers, tourists coming from the US, Europe, and the growing market in East Asia have encouraged airlines to increase and expand their offer of cheap flights so that anybody can just book a flight and travel wherever they want. But one of the problems that come with that growing market is the reliance on fossil fuels. Airlines have to pay very little taxes, if not no tax at all, on their consumption of fossil fuel. We more or less know all of that, but then with all that information, why do we continue to do it? Why do we continue to participate in that damaging, non-essential industry? People who are aware of the impact of flights on climate change continue to travel by plane. I'm one of them, and according to the Cambridge Dictionary, that makes me a hypocrite. And that's a sad reality to come to terms with. Nobody wants to be a hypocrite, yet we are all hypocrites to a certain degree. We're all participating in the system that we hate, and yes, I got frustrated when, for example, Jack Harris, a guy I've been following since the Jack's Gap years, and who's deeply involved in climate action now, announced that he was planning on doing a podcast in partnership with Google. And I remember leaving a comment on that post, joining other people and telling him that Google has shares in fossil fuel industries, so it might not be a good fit. And I also got a bit annoyed when I saw that Jack and his girlfriend Alice were partnering with brands like Mini or Timberland that tend to do a little bit of greenwashing, just a little bit. And I started to wonder, why do I, and by extension we, get so mad at the hypocrisy of social justice advocates? What does it tell about us? So yeah, that's what I would like to explore now, and I want you to be as open-minded as possible, because this is a bit of a sensitive topic. Niccolo Machiavelli noted that the mass of mankind accept what seems as what is. The best way to cultivate a reputation for fairness is to really be fair. But since it is much harder to be fair than to seem fair, and since laziness is built deep into human nature, humans more often choose appearance over reality. In a study conducted in 2017, researchers Jordan, Sommers, Bloom and Round hypothesized that hypocrites inspire moral outrage because they dishonestly signal their moral goodness. That is, their condemnation of immoral behavior signals that they are morally upright, but they fail to act in accordance with these signals. We tend to jump on every occasion to tag someone with the hypocrite label. The case of celebrities and influencers is quite interesting for that matter, because we see them as the pinnacle of privilege. In fact, acts of hypocrisy can be kind of similar of celebrities' display of privilege, because the virtue signaling that comes with hypocrisy. So for example, an actor saying that you should stay at home to save lives is quite similar to the lack of self-awareness that privileged people tend to have. So for example, model Bella Hadid saying that her mom did not let her buy her first pair of Louboutin till she graduated. Rich people problems. In both cases, we get angry or frustrated at the gap between what the person is trying to convey, so moral goodness or relatability, and reality. Namely that it's quite easy for celebrities to stay at home in their huge mansions, and that Bella Hadid's Louboutin problem is absolutely unrelatable. It's crucial to point out, and even better than that, to recognize one's privilege, one's hypocrisy, but that recognition shouldn't lead to inertia. Whether you're the hypocrite, thinking that you're not the right person to talk about this or that, or to be part of this movement or that movement, or if you're the person condemning the hypocrite, so if you're someone who blames people but doesn't do anything else. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that we shouldn't make public figures and influencers accountable and make them challenge the way they perform hypocrisy. It is important to denounce it, as it's been proven that fear of hypocrisy in public contexts is especially effective at motivating virtuous behavior. Yet we shouldn't aim at silencing people who are trying to make things change, as flawed as they may be. There is no one righteous way of being an advocate for social justice, whether it's climate change, anti-racism, or anything else. Take a look at history. Radical movements all over the world have always found strength in numbers, not in the righteousness of their leaders. Actually, the supposedly lack of morality and vice were used as criticism by conservative opponents who wanted to discredit the movement. Look at Martin Luther King and the FBI's obsession with his extramarital activities. They only had one idea in mind: they wanted to destroy him, and so they attacked his mental health and wanted to push him to suicide for his lack of morality. Of course, you should always strive to become a better activist, a better advocate by educating yourself, by listening to others, to experts, to the people who follow you, people who might have experienced oppression, because your job is to influence people. But do you think it's a good idea to play the game of your opponents, to discredit a message, a political commitment, because the person carrying that message is not morally irreproachable, because they're hypocrites? I know it's not easy, because we tend to see the public self as an extension of the private self, and so we get frustrated when there is a discrepancy between the two. It's like going to your boyfriend's or girlfriend's parents and realize that your kind little angel of a partner is actually horrible and selfish with his parents. Huge red flag. My tutor said something quite interesting during a seminar. He said that while he was doing his PhD on the intersection of race and sports, his tutor at the time told him to always remind himself of who he was writing against. Not who he was writing for, but who he was writing against. And I think it's a good mantra. By focusing on who you're fighting against, you're not tempted to hypercorrect yourself to the point where you're not saying anything anymore. You're not trying to amaze your peers, to prove your moral values. You're not doing this for yourself, seeking validation. You're doing it for the people you are writing about, the people you are advocating for. The message here is that you shouldn't let hypocrisy paralyze you, because you have the potential, the motivation, the awareness to make an impact. It has been proven that people forgive people who are willing to recognize their hypocrisy, their privilege. So now that you have recognized that, and that you always keep that in mind as you progress, you can now use your voice and that privilege we all have to a certain degree, and not fall for the finger-pointing, threats instead of arguments that is characteristic of our opponents. Anger is growing within us as things don't change. Despite protests, despite the climate disasters happening each season, and it has become easier to blame people who have a voice, platforms, for not doing enough, or being hypocrites, rather than question why hypocrisy is inherent to effective action. Hypocrisy is unavoidable and necessary. If people were required at all times to live up to ideals of honesty, loyalty, and compassion in order for those ideals to exist, there would be no ideals. Being a moral person is a struggle in which everyone repeatedly fails, becoming a hypocrite in each of those moments. A just and peaceful society depends on hypocrites who ultimately refuse to abandon the ideals they betray. It doesn't matter if you're working in the financial sector, if you have to book a flight for your yearly summer holiday, if you can't imagine giving up meat completely, or if you had to buy that cute dress that you saw in Zara but couldn't find on Depop. Gosh, I almost did it. Yes, it's true that the more your lifestyle suits your ideals, the more legitimate you're gonna appear in the public sphere. But we all deserve to ask for better rights for ourselves or for others, and a future for our planet. And if you feel bad about yourself because you feel like you're not doing enough, then think about creative forms of protest that you can channel your anger into. Art, songs, writing, YouTube videos, podcasts, or just having conversations with the people around you. More than setting a moral example, you can inspire people with your actions so that you too one day will become a publicly certified hypocrite. Again, thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring the video. You'll find a link in the description to this offer. And yeah, salut!